We begin this hour in Syria, where the battle for Aleppo rages on. Opposition fighters are trying to break the regime's siege of rebel-held areas. But the latest reports suggest Assad forces are making gains. At least 22 civilians have been killed in the latest Russian and regime airstrikes. The assault targeted trucks in rebel-held areas west of the city. Activists say the trucks were carrying food and medical aid for the 250,000 people who've been besieged for a month. Well, last month, regime troops cut the last remaining supply route to the city. The Castillo route was a lifeline for 300,000 people living in rebel-held districts. Several days ago, rebel groups began a counter-offensive to open an alternative supply line from the city's south. Let's get more on this from Zeina Awad. She joins me now from Gaziantep near the Turkish-Syrian border. Zeina, we know regime fighters are battling hard. What else can you tell us?
Asha, we understand that the battle for Aleppo is ongoing and it's as fierce as ever. Now, this battle has become the flashpoint, the central battle really between the regime forces and a wide coalition of rebel groups. Rebel groups that have in the past fought each other but have come together to try and make this final push to break the siege on the eastern part of Aleppo. These include the Free Syrian Army and they include more perhaps extremist groups that brings the Jaish Fath al-Sham, which used to be known as the Nusrat Front, into the fold as well. But it's not just in Aleppo that we're seeing violence. If you remember, on Tuesday, toxic gas was dropped on a town in Idlib. We also have an ongoing battle between groups on the ground who are aligned to the United States fighting against Daesh. And the humanitarian situation on the ground looks quite disturbing. We are talking about over 14 million people who are in desperate need for aid, about 7 million who are internally displaced. And once the violence, if the violence lets, this is the situation that we're looking at and talking about on the ground across the country in Syria.
Well, no doubt the advisor to the UN envoy to Syria is going to mention the humanitarian crisis on Thursday and is likely to say that he is concerned. Do we have any idea what else he is likely to say?
Yes, Mr. Jan Egeland will be speaking. We're expecting him to speak at 11 GMT out of the UN HQ in Geneva. Now, he advises the UN Special Envoy on Syria, on humanitarian issues, and we expect the humanitarian situation to be centerfold to what he will be talking about. Now, he's the most senior UN official we will be hearing from since the battle for Aleppo has escalated. And the UN has been quite critical of the Syrian regime, of the fact that it's not allowing them to open up humanitarian corridors to evacuate people in desperate need of basic necessities like food, medicine, water, things that you need to survive, basically. That the UN wants to open up those humanitarian corridors, and we expect him to address that, to talk about that. We also expect him to give an overall picture of what's happening across Syria on the humanitarian front, and undoubtedly the international community would be listening out, because he will be the most senior person to date from the United Nations to talk about the situation, the humanitarian situation as it's unfolding on the ground.
Okay, Zeina Awad live in Gaziantep. Thank you.